My name's Jill Rowe, and in this episode of the Different Podcast, I talk with Steve Chalke all about how we can create beauty out of brokenness. Together we explore the philosophy held within the art of kintsugi, and we recognise that we can often live life pursuing perfection, desperate for a life without scars, and we can have an insatiable appetite for both being and looking perfect. Yet, by changing our way of seeing and believing, and having the courage and humility to learn through and from our scars and broken parts, we can be transformed, making us better, not bitter. This is a precious episode. We pray it helps you to keep on your journey of growth and goodness. Hey, Steve.
Hello, Jill.
Do you know, I was just wondering what episode this is.
And what's the answer?
I'm not quite sure, but it's like low 50s.
Is it?
Yeah.
50s?
Yeah.
God.
We've done a lot.
We've done a lot of sitting here prattling away, haven't we? God. 50.
Yeah.
That's a lot of time we've spent doing this then, isn't it?
It's good though, huh?
Yeah, it's great. I mean, it's always good to sit and have a chatter, isn't it? A natter. Nice maiden nattering, isn't it?
That is a
You learn
word.
through it.
That's a great word as well, a natter. One of the things I did in the summer was...
I was going to ask, this is what you want us to natter about this time. That was a great segue, by the way.
Did you like it? It was quite smooth, wasn't it?
One of the things... Oh, but you never did tell me what it is.
Was as I always do, I went to the Greenbelt Festival. It was great.
I never went to the Greenbelt Festival this year. I went to the American version of the Greenbelt Festival called the Wild Goose Festival.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, where I was, the weather was amazing.
And in America too, it was fantastic. And they kept saying, have you had a good goose? Have you had a good goose?
We talk about all the people that I always meet for Greenbelt, you know, just as you're running up to the time of the festival happening, you start sending each other messages saying, we'll see you each other in the field of dreams.
Uh-huh.
It's the thing. It's the thing we do. Anyway, this year at Greenbelt, there was an artist called Rachel Rowe who had created 120 little pots in the fashion of kintsugi, where they were all marked individually in different ways with the gold scarring.
They were broken and then glued together.
Well, I'm not quite sure how she'd done it, but so a friend of mine found one. So there were 100, they were hidden on the site.
Right.
So it was like, could you find them? And they were only small, but a friend found one, and it was a beautiful, beautiful pot. It was beautifully crafted, and it only had one mark on it, which had been filled with which had been a hole, which had been filled with the gold.
Right. Okay.
And so they were all scarred, these pots. And it was it was beautiful. And I I'm not sure why the festival asked her to do that, but it seemed really appropriate that, because sometimes life is tough and difficult things happen, and sometimes life feels tough for a lot of people in a lot of places. And I'm sure that was something that they were pulling out. But what I love about the kintsugi kind of philosophy is that what gets made through the recreation of a bowl that's broken and you join it back together with gold resin is that what you've created is even more beautiful than what was there,
what it started with
before. That is such a powerful thing, Steve,
yeah. It is, and it has so many applications in life. I often think about it, actually. So we've chosen a theme I often ponder myself, and that great art form. And then, of course, it's Japanese, isn't it? In Japan, they purposely smash bowls and and then remake them, glue them back together with this gold thread, because it's always more beautiful. And the more gold you have in, the more breaks you have in, the more complex the design and the more fascinating the design. In fact, you can pay a fortune, can't you, for a bowl that's shot through with gold.
I gave some people in Oasis a kit.
Oh, did
last year? Yeah. I bought it on
kintsugi kit.
Kintsugi
Make
kit.
your own.
Make your own, which they loved.
Yeah.
Actually. We're drawn to it as a concept.
Yeah.
As well,
what did you get in the kit then? You got a little bowl to smash.
A bowl to smash. You got the resin, the gold resin. It was brilliant. Yeah. They were totally up for it.
Yeah.
But we are drawn to it because I think we know that it's true, isn't it? Like that is...
Yes.
We long for it to be true.
Yes. We know it's true and we hope it's true.
And we hope it's true.
Yeah.
And because so often we live life pursuing perfection, like life without marks, life without any scars, life without any breaks.
Yeah.
We're embarrassed by any brokenness. And yet, when you see the beauty of what is created, something inside of us is drawn to that.
Yeah. It becomes more valuable, not just more beautiful. You know, a bowl that's just been fashioned and sits on the shelf won't sell for as much as a bowl that's shot through with that gold resin held together in a different way. It's not only a way of redemption, but it's which it is. It's a way of redeeming something, restoring something, isn't it? But it's a way of adding more value to, more beauty to.
Yeah.
And that's why it's such a powerful thing, because you can't stop. You can't help, I should say, but stop and start thinking of some of the most painful episodes in your life, and without giving them credit in any way, because they're just painful, aren't they? Out of them has arisen more depth, more understanding, more wisdom, hopefully more beauty, hopefully more compassion and empathy with others. All of these great things come through the pain.
Which makes us more beautiful as people.
Yeah, you can lead people through pain if you've been in pain yourself. If you've made your way through hardship and toil, suffering, poverty, it gives you a completely new window, doesn't it? Insight onto these things as you speak with others. You say less, you listen more, but what you do say matters more because it's more authentic. So there's all in kintsugi there.
Yeah, it's all there, isn't it? But there's thing as well that we don't like. You don't want the excuse me, the pot to be smashed in the first place, and that I call it a curse of perfectionism.
Yeah.
The curse of the perfect that is so prevalent in our psyches, but also, gives us an insatiable appetite for something that can never be satisfied.
No, because we're all smashed one way or the other.
Yeah. But if you think how perfectionism shows up,
yes,
it makes us feel
the chasing of a fantasy.
Yeah. And that's both physical, that's, isn't it?
It is, which is why people spend so much time doctoring a photograph of themselves or, standing posing and getting 50 shots and then choosing between them. Sometimes asking you to choose between them, and they think they all look the same to me. But it is that, to look right, to sound right, to spend all that time on yourself. But we are broken, and the thing about brokenness is it brings, as we've just both been saying, a beauty. It brings a depth, doesn't it? I'm just speaking for myself, but I love talking with somebody who's been through the mill, who's struggled with life. You'll learn far more from them than others. Yeah. And you'll see far more beauty in them.
How do we get from the pursuit of perfectionism and being perfect and the kind of almost the doctoring of how we are, whether that's physically or whatever. How do we get from being there, Steve, to getting to the place of acceptance of the beauty of brokenness.
Is that an experience of life? I don't know, Jill. You know, some people seem to me to get to it quicker than others, and some people sadly never get to it. But we learn through our mistakes. We learn from our errors. We learn from our wounds, don't we? We learn through the scars we gather, and they give us a new humility, a different take altogether. Do you know, it just reminds me, years and years and years ago, before I started Oasis, I used to work for a church. And in Kent, and they launched a new radio station, commercial radio station, which is called Invicta. I think probably still is. I'm not sure for Kent. Anyway, they asked me to the meetings about it, and I went with a vicar called Peter, who's much, much older than me, and he was an experienced broadcaster. And so there were various people that went along, and then in this meeting, when they were said, okay, we want someone to present the Sunday morning show, and you can also present the charts in midweek, because then, you know, that's yeah. And Peter was in charge, and he said to the station director, it hadn't gone on air then. He said, well, I think Steve should do it. And I could not believe it. I could not believe it. I thought there was something wrong with him. Why? Why do you put me forward? You know, you are the, you know, he was so much more experienced than me, and he'd been in broadcasting, etc. And had he made a mistake, surely he must want to do this, not me. No, he wanted me to do it. And I did that. I presented that show and the charts for a couple of years, I suppose, while I was there. And I could just never get over why he didn't want to do this. Yeah. And of course, as the years went by, I learned that he'd been there, he'd done this thing. It gave him a different perspective. He could see me in the room. He didn't pick me because he thought I was the bee's knees in broadcasting. I'd never broadcasted or narrowcast anything to anyone. But he gave me the opportunity because life had created a beauty in him that allowed him to step away from...
He didn't need to do it.
He didn't need to do it. He step away from the limelight and give an opportunity to another person. And in doing that, there was a beauty in his life and a maturity in his life that allowed him to do it. But in doing it, I realised now that he added more beauty to his life. You know, he was a bowl really worth looking at for all the fine gold.
Did you used to say, and this week's number one is...
I'm sure I did. I'm sure I did all of that. It was in the days when a DJ actually had to spin the track, and you had to go until you found the beginning, do you know? And then you had these decks that would speed up straight away, do you know? So they'd go from 0 to 45, because they're all 45s, weren't they, that you're playing? Yeah, that's it. And then you had to line the next record up. And then, so you could segue from one to the other, or just do a little, you know, and now, you know, and then again. It was great. Well, I learned so much, but the point was, I genuinely, Jill, I could not understand why Peter didn't take this job himself, because it seemed to me to be an act of sheer stupidity. Yeah. But now I could see it was the very richness of his life that meant he didn't have to do it.
Yeah. Yeah. So there's something about the inner life of a person and that beauty that comes from...
And that's the thing, isn't it? How we transform the pain, the brokenness, the disappointments in our lives into a thing of beauty rather than a thing of bitterness.
Yeah, which we offload onto others. It's always, you know, in the creation myth in Genesis, it's always, you know, we read, well, there's several versions, aren't there, in Genesis, but I've always loved that it doesn't say and everything was perfect.
Yeah.
I love that it says.
Yeah.
It was good.
God made all this. God made human beings. Yeah.
Oh, it's
and
really
said it's good. Yeah, from human beings, it's
really,
very good.
Very good.
But he didn't say,
it's perfect.
Got it. Bang. Yeah.
And it's that notion to me of good means we're not done. We're not, like, the work isn't finished. You are good.
Yeah.
But there's growth.
There's growth, and
you can pass on that goodness to others. And
we fashion ourselves, don't we, in one sense? We make ourselves, we become who we practice being every day.
Yeah.
We become who we are with every decision we make. Every decision and every action becomes a part of who we are, beautiful or ugly. Yeah. But we are becoming all the time, which is an inspiring thing to think about. I think some people might think it's a depressing thing to think about. It's an inspiring thing to think about. So we're becoming all the time. But we're also in the process, aren't we, of giving up other people the opportunities of becoming through our kintsugi acts to them, through the gold resin bits of us, if there are any. As we give that opportunity to someone else, we allow them to grow and become just like that guy Peter did with me. I've been lucky thinking about it in my life, very lucky, because I've had loads of people in my life. I was just thinking of someone else as I was talking, you see, who could have done things but gave me the opportunity instead. Normally, an opportunity which I took for granted and didn't even clock. Yeah. But I realised I'd been given opportunities by other people, and they must have had the maturity to do that out of their struggle and their brokenness and the lessons they learn in those situations in the fire. Yeah.
It's really important, isn't it? If it's not about perfection, but it's about generosity, about goodness, this realization that we are good and we can grow into that more and more. We can become that more and more. Part of our humanness is also that we do fail. Part of our humanness is that we do get fractured. It's part of it's just a matter of life, isn't it? That there are days. I had a bad day on Friday.
You did?
Yeah. It's a bad day.
What happened?
Because I just got grumpy.
Oh, no.
Because of some things. And, you're like, I'm not perfect. But it's what you then do to say, to allow that kind of gold to come through. And we shouldn't run away from those days when they happen, those moments when they happen. I think I may have told you before, but years ago I was on holiday. I was in Portugal, and I thought, they do massages in the hotel I was staying, sports massage thing, and the person doing the massage said to me, do you ever go jogging or anything? And I said, yeah. And she said, do you notice you run with a limp? And I was like, how do you know that? And she said, because I can tell by the way that your legs, when they're resting, one slightly turns. And so I said, that's incredible. How? And I said, you're absolutely right. Sometimes I can feel like there's a slight. And I think that's part of for me, when I look at kintsugi and the beauty of that, I think about that story of that massage, and I think about what life is like. I think that's what we do, isn't it? We go, I'm running with a limp, but there's still gold being created in that.
Yes. Which reminds me, Jill, of this extraordinary story I know about a man called Yitzhak Perlman. Yitzhak Perlman is still alive, actually, an extraordinary violin player. But when he was a child, he had polio. And so not only did he walk with a limp, but he walked with a caliper. I think now, I've seen a film of him recently, he's very elderly, and he's a musician, a violin player, a famous violin player, but now he goes on stage in a little motorized...
Like a mobility scooter thing.
Yeah. But he, in his younger days, he'd always come on stage with his caliper on his leg, and he's lead violinist and celebrated around the world. And there's this famous story of him playing a concert with an orchestra in the States. When he came on stage, and he'd come on at the end as the first violinist does, and he'd hobble on stage with his irons on his leg, and then sit himself down on his chair, and then undo the irons on his leg that held it stiff, and then tuck his leg back in his chair, and then get his violin, and then put it up to his chin, and then finally be ready to play. And he was playing a fantastic piece of music that was particularly hard, a virtuoso piece, particularly hard on the violin, and he gives the conductor the nod, and the piece starts, and he begins to play in this huge hall. But about a minute in, there's a twang on one of the strings, and this string breaks, and the whole audience kind of gasps. And then there's a long silence, and everybody's thinking, what's he going to do now? Is he going to stop? Is he going to put his violin down? Is he going to do up his caliper? Yeah. Is he going to wander off, get a new string, etc., etc.? But there was this long silence. And then he motioned to the conductor to begin again. And the conductor began again. And they say that Perlman played the whole piece, this virtuoso piece, on 3 strings.
Amazing.
But that meant that he had to recalibrate everything, different finger positions to get the same notes on different strings. He played the whole thing through perfectly. And when he finished, everyone applauded, the story's told. And then he spoke, and he said, through life, I've learned to play all my life with what remains.
It's amazing.
And it's a brilliant story, I think, because we all learn to play with what remains. Yeah. We're all living kind of second choice lives in some ways, aren't we? We're all living lives.
We're all
scarred. If that had run right or that right, but this goes wrong and that happens. So we're all in second choice places. And that's where we're asked to play, to sing, to live out a beauty. Live our lives in beauty. It's true. I mean, it's, you expect me to say this because I did theology at college. The vast majority of what we call the Bible, all those different letters and books, in different cultures, what we call the Old Testament, and then books of the New Testament, the vast majority of the Bible, I can't be sure exactly what percentage, but almost all of it is written to people who were living second choice lives. Yeah. Yes. They were slaves, or they were in exile, or they were ruled over by a dictator government. Not where
they wanted to be.
They were poor, etc. Everybody's written to. The Bible is addressed as a kind of kintsugi hope resin, isn't it, to people who are struggling. To bring them hope in their circumstances. I think that in the West we can often forget that when we're reading it, and if you don't remember that, you'll never understand what it's really saying.
And we almost want to tip X out the struggle. Because that's for some reason the lie that we have bought into. There was just recently, the sad death of Diego Jota and his brother Andre, and there was this moment, I just saw it on, some of the sports coverage, the first match at Anfield, and Salah standing in front of the Kop end. So they're all chanting Diego Jota's name, and Salah is just standing there, and he starts to applaud with the crowd, and he's crying, and people just was saying, like, it was the fact that he stayed in the moment of the grief that everyone was feeling. He didn't rush into the changing room. He didn't go to get away from the ground. He just stayed with the Anfield faithful and was clapping with them in memory of, his friend and his friend's brother. And that to your point, Steve, and to your story about the violinist, you don't move on from it. You stay with it, play with what remains, stick and see the beauty and see the personal change and see the personal transformation that comes by not chasing perfection, but chasing what is good in life.
And learning that the very common bowl without a fault in isn't as beautiful as the bowl now that is marked with the thread of gold through the crack that was there. So Salah becomes a better man, a deeper man, a more empathetic and compassionate man, a man more aware of the gift of life that he's been given every day for however long that lasts than he was before his friend is taken from him, which isn't to celebrate a death or to say there's any meaning or purpose in it. It's just a catastrophe. And yet even out of that catastrophe, there comes a thread of gold.
Of gold, yeah. It's interesting just to finish that Henri Nouwen describes Jesus, doesn't he, as a wounded healer. So much truth in that.
So much truth, and perhaps it's only a wounded healer that brings any healing or comfort to anyone else.
Yeah. Thank you, Steve.